All right. Let's get this out of the way first. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed on Tailboard Talks Firefighter podcast are solely those of the speakers, guests, and host, and do not in any way represent the thoughts or views or opinions of any other employer, partnership, or sponsor. The material and information in this podcast is for general information purposes only and should be used at the listener's discretion.
Where we're going?
Oh, I don't know. I guess we're going. I'm always like, do I press it now?
We
so
can
I
do
just
it now.
figured that I pressed.
That's fine.
I
We
went
can do
ahead
it.
and I pressed it.
I guess, yeah, let's do it, dude.
I just feel like,
It's time to rock and roll. We're running out of time.
yeah, it is time to rock and roll because our podcast is literally no different than when we have the camera off and we're sitting and talking.
Well,
I mean,
hold on.
truly, it's really not. We try to be a little bit more organized, but that's like really about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's literally the same type of conversations that we have off camera.
I do try to swear a little bit less
Do
on
I?
camera. No, I try to swear a little bit less.
Have I been swearing on the camera? I did the one time, but it wasn't me. It was me saying the words that
I
the
was
other
just
girl
repeating
said.
the
I was
words
just
in the
repeating. I was
song.
I was repeating the message. It was not my
yeah.
words.
Yeah, I did have to.
That was the only time I swore.
Oh, this is the battery I was going to put in the camera. We'll see if it works. Okay.
Do you want to see if it works, or do you just want to put it in so that we're not having?
It does work. It's working right now.
Good.
But if it beeps and shuts off, then we'll know that it doesn't work anymore.
Okay.
Welcome back, Angie.
All right. That's fine. It's your camera. Thank you, CrossFit 104, for allowing us to
Wad?
record
Oh.
and allowing us to
Thank you
wad.
for allowing me to wad in your.
To wad in here. Thanks, Joanne. CrossFit 104 is located in Crystal Lake, Illinois. They are running a special this week for bring a friend. Actually, I think it's for this whole month. You bring a friend in for free for a week. So if you're in the area and you want to
You want to wad?
wad.
I did say, so a little backstory. I haven't done a CrossFit workout since 2011. I still could do a muscle up if I wanted to. You saw that.
Yeah, you definitely could.
I flashed it. I flashed the ability to.
Yeah, you did.
And then I was like, just not get to that part of the workout. So I haven't done a CrossFit workout since 2011, easily. I haven't done a group class workout since like 2016. Like I've done workouts with Kurt and some of our old clients
Yeah.
in the past year or so. That's at a facility and we just kind of meet up and then he runs it. But like being a attended member in a class and then having my stuff written on the board or like being with the group. First of
Yeah.
all, you didn't tell me that we're supposed to face this way for the workout. Like this is a long gym. And
you don't have to
I set up
face-
facing this way and then there was like 4 other people looking directly at me when you're like, we're going to start in 30 seconds. I'm like, why is everybody facing this way? And
Okay,
they're like,
first of all, it doesn't matter which way you're facing.
it did with the movements I was doing and how much I thought I was going to drop on my face. So I turned and I was like, well, and I was looking at my butt. It's just me thinking I'm important again. Anyway,
It's fine.
so I got through it. I got through the workout. Like I said, the community, the coaching, the environment of CrossFit's never the problem.
I was gonna say, did you at least enjoy like being in a
course.
group workout? Like it's kind of like nice when you're around other people.
Group workouts are always better.
Yeah.
And I've said that to guys who are trying to get back in it or like whatever, and they'll come and be like, can I do personal training? And I'll say, well, is there any group classes around you at all? Like, because they live 45 minutes away or even
Oh
half
yeah,
hour
that's
away.
super far.
I'm like, is there any group stuff you can do? And they're like, well, yeah, but I figure personal training. I'm like, no, always go to the group. Always go to the group. The accountability is better. You create a community there. You don't have to worry about like our relationship at work.
Yeah.
Like go somewhere where you can make a whole new group of friends.
Yeah.
Group classes are phenomenal for that. And so I always advocate for some sort of group
It's more
and
enjoyable.
coach-led fitness class.
Just like
over.
at work. Like if you can get
Yeah.
your crew to do like a group crew workout,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what level fitness everybody's at, if it's different and whatever, it's so much fun. And it just really, I don't know, it builds camaraderie. It's a good thing. But
Funny you should mention that.
oh yes.
Working. Funny you should be so creepy you mentioned that. You're like a vampire.
Ooh.
Because today, and I don't remember if you brought it up or I brought it up, who brought it up? Talking about working out in gear.
Me. Well, because originally we both were like, no.
About working
Both
out
of
in
us
gear?
were against it.
Yes.
We were both against it.
Oh, we already recorded this episode.
Oh, wait, right. So we're re-recording.
We're
Oh, right,
re-recording an
because I'm like,
episode.
you know what?
So we
So-
came out hot out of the gate, staunchly against working out in gear. And then Angie messaged, and it was a nasty episode. I got a little carried away. to the point where like if we ever get a Patreon thing, it'll be on there because it was a little bit. It's like, so one time when I was at my old job, they described me like, you know what you're like when you get talking? I'm like, no. They're like, you're like a little kid with a big giant head who starts running downhill, and then his head gets ahead of him and he can't stop running, so he has to run faster. Like that's what you're like when you get carried away. And that's
Did you like listen to it and you were like, okay, I get
No,
it.
after you texted me, we're like, we were a little rough on that. We should think about it. I was playing it back. I was like, yeah, that's probably 90% inappropriate.
Yeah.
The stuff we
Yeah.
said. But then that made me
please
go
don't put
back
this
on
one
it.
out.
Yeah. But then it made me think about it because like, whenever I project like that and go over the top, usually it's for entertainment.
Yeah.
And then I have to think like, do I really mean this stuff? And the more and more I thought about it over the past 2 years, probably, I've really been softening my opinion on working out in gear.
Yeah.
To the point where I have several notes on why I don't mind it and why I actually think there's a smart way we can help
a smarter
people do it.
way to do it, because it wouldn't matter, right? So like there's still people out there who are against working out in gear, and regardless, it doesn't matter. People are going to do it anyway, and so I think there are some truths in the reasonings why you said you didn't like it. I agree with a lot of it, as well as like as far as transferable over the mobility issue, all that stuff. There are reasons. However, why not come up with just a better way to do it? So
this is like the just say no campaign for drugs,
right?
Or like abstinence. Like that's not going to work.
No,
so
it's not going to work.
Teach people how to be safe and like not mess themselves up along the way.
Right,
so if
right.
they want to change their behavior, they're not screwed up completely. Right?
And of course, like I just said a few minutes ago, us out here in our departments, we are both medics and firefighters, and so we sometimes get stuck on an ambulance for months at a time, and we may not be going into alarms all the time. And I got, a truck day. Thank you, Lord Jesus. I got a truck day recently, and I got out in my gear. We were on alarms like all day, and carrying the pump can with my tools up the stairs, all this stuff. And I was like, wow. I'm like, okay, hold on a second. Like maybe gear workouts.
Well, it's a skill in itself.
Right.
Like wearing your gear and manipulating the tools and the irons in the can. And
you're in an ambulance and then you have to reacclimate for.
You do.
And like I said, not a good time to do it on a fire ground. So there's better ways for this. And you even sent me, ideas for, which I don't know if we're going to do this at the end or what, a revamped firefighter burpee in gear, which I'm obsessed with, to be honest. Like, I think that movement is so perfect.
Yeah.
Versus the up downs. Like, I love that movement way better than
We're going to release
the
that
up-downs.
when this episode goes out.
Awesome.
So like, if you're listening to this, which we know you are, it'll be on our social media, because by that time we'll be able to put gear on and like test it out a few times
that's
and change
awesome.
a little bit.
Yeah, I'm excited.
But yeah, there's very much an alternative, like a burpee alternative coming out.
Yeah, I'm excited.
That you can do for higher reps, not as ballistic, but as high intensity for sure, and it's going to translate better. And
I hope that doesn't blow up.
I thought like a bird got sucked into that heater or something. But I came up with a whole list of reasons why I did not like working out in gear.
All right,
As
let's
you can
hear
see, I
them.
was two-sided. So I'm going to run through them quick, and then we can talk about them.
Yeah.
Kind of one by one. First one was always my biggest one. Maybe I shouldn't start with the biggest one, but it's always my biggest one, which was the mobility restrictions gear put on you. And my thing was always like, if you have bad shoulders, which a lot of us do, and a bad back, and knees that don't bend so good, and you have trouble working out in the first place, why would you put a snowsuit on and then do the same things you can't do without that snowsuit on and expect good results?
Yeah.
You're going to drive yourself further into the terrible zone and then get an injury, which is the opposite of why you're trying to work out, right? Well, I can only speak for myself and my department, and I don't speak for my department at all because I don't want to get in trouble. But our gear now is light years ahead of when I first developed that mentality. Like, it's got flex panels in it, it's got giant pleats in the shoulders. I don't wear suspenders anymore. I wear a belt, and I wear the belt like a weight belt, like up around my belly button almost, and it sits on top of my duty belt, so that's not on my hips at all. The air packs are better, the harnesses are better, they move with you like closer, they don't restrict you as much. So I can get like into a full squat without like the butt wink or rolling my back under. I can get reach overhead because the air pack straps are on your waist are better, so the ones on your shoulders can be looser, and the gear panels flex in your armpits better,
Yep.
so I can reach overhead without a restriction. So if you got that kind of gear,
Yeah,
I mean,
gear's
there's less
come a
and
long
less
way.
reason
Long way.
to use that as an excuse. Now, if you're using like legacy gear, it still probably feels like a burlap sack, and you still got some issues, right? But even the boots are better. So
Yeah.
like the big restrictions on ankle mobility causing the knee pain because of compensation, that's even going away.
Yeah.
So as long as you got gear that can let you move, I mean, that one pretty much crosses that one off the list.
Yeah.
You know. Now you're saying your gear isn't as maybe advanced as that.
So it was hard, right? Because when the company that got, I'm small. I'm
small.
I'm 5'1" on a good day. I don't
really
know.
put
One
yourself
time,
out there.
I always thought I was 5 foot, and then one time I went to the doctor and they said 5'1". I'm like, we're just gonna roll with that.
Like,
Yeah. And I got measured with a tape measure
good.
and not like gear to like put on. But then the company that measured me was like, well, you got a thicker behind, so we're just gonna add 2 inches. So it wasn't
the
even,
waist?
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really even, you know,
Yeah. Oh, I remember
Like
when we
a-
got fitted, they're like, put your pants on, then put a fist on like your waistline, and then we'll measure around that, and that'll be like, that'll fit appropriately. I was like, but I'm not going to have a fist.
a
worth
fist
of
in my
crap.
pants
Like,
or something.
yeah, like what are you assuming is going to be taking up that space? They're like, well, your pants and your belt and your sweatshirt. I'm
Yeah.
like, what is it? What are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
no, like measure my waist and then
Right.
get the appropriate size stuff.
Yeah, my coat
does
is
go into it.
my coat is great.
Yeah.
Like size wise, it's great. It's the pants because I'm smaller, the pants obviously had to be smaller. However, they did not make the pockets smaller. So the pockets are the same size as like a normal size
You can only do
pants.
so much, all
and then
right?
they connect to my knee pads.
Okay.
So
Well,
I was like, okay, so my gear's a little bit harder.
You're literally 3 inches away from the good parking spots, okay? So I wouldn't be too picky with your
Yeah,
pocket
okay,
size,
yeah, true.
right?
True.
So just being aware of that.
Yeah, just being aware. Yeah, know what your limits are in your gear
Yeah.
and not trying to push those.
Right.
So you're not hurting yourself or
And
injuring
you can,
yourself.
I guess I should take that back, not take it back, but when I was doing the combat challenge, we used legacy gear. We ordered race pants. So I had a pair of firefighter gear race pants, which were like super thin, no thermal protection, very thin liner, but they were you could go into a fire technically in them. Like they had to be
Okay.
structural firefighting gear, but they could be modified within the limitations of that to be no pockets, thinner, bigger flex panels in the knees. So it's race-specific firefighting gear for the combat challenge.
That's cool.
Then for the coat, I just got a coat that was one size too big, and then I would bunch it up around my joints. So when I was stood there, it looked like a raincoat on me. But when I put the pack on, I would pull it up. So I had like a big parachute underneath my arms so I
Oh.
could reach up higher.
Okay.
And then I'd pull the excess up here so I could, so everywhere there was a joint, I tried to bunch up extra fabric so I could move better.
Yeah.
So if you do that, there's always ways around it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the number one thing is making sure your gear isn't restricting your already terrible mobility.
Right.
Which is the
Exactly.
worst spot.
All right.
Number 2.
2.
Number 2 was exercise selection.
Okay.
We're gonna get to that.
Okay.
That's gonna be the big finale.
Yeah, that's fine.
The pillars
Big
of
finale.
the pillars of working out in gear that we're gonna
Big
release.
finale.
The third one is a me problem.
Okay.
Ego, annoyance. I'm still a hater, but seeing people work out in gear and not offer any type of like education or value or anything besides like, look how intense I am.
Yeah.
And you should be this intense and you should be hardcore and just
Right.
pushing people towards intensity instead of
Where they're
education
at?
or anything. Or yeah, even saying like, hey, I'm a freak show and I do this for the combat challenge and I work 4896s on a dedicated truck and I never transport and I'm sleeping every third night and all that stuff and
It's so
I'm
not
single
fair.
and
It's
I'm
literally
22
so
and
not
I'm-
fair.
all these things, right? And we run 2,000 calls a year and
Yeah. Right.
instead of doing that, they're like, look how badass I am and you need to be hardcore too.
Yeah.
And that just drives me so crazy.
I totally think that this ties back in and comes around with today, the episode that came out for Beyond the Headlines with Firefighter Nation when we're talking to Roy. Like, that is so specific to one group.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the people who are going hard and are that dedicated and whatever the case may be. That's awesome. But I want to see more if those people took their workouts and did instructional like options for people, like, hey dude, like you may not be at X level right now, so these are different ways. I just want it to be reached out more to the people who aren't moving as much.
Sure.
To get people to not just look at that and go, I can't do that, and so I'm not going to do that.
I think the opposite's true. I think the opposite's more likely to happen, is they'll look at that freak show and be like, here we go.
They'll try, and then they're going to hurt themselves.
Because they probably have someone on their crew who's a little bit of a freak show or a mutant who's like willing to do it or able to do most of it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, let's go do a bay floor workout. Here's what I saw online. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then that leads to more problems. Well, you're going to get it.
I'm just to say, like, I always think about, like, what do you want out of this? And it's like, really, I just want the vast majority of firefighters that we work with, right? Like, that we see, I just want it to impact them in a positive way, or those people in a positive way, where if they came into the fire service and they were, like, tip-top shape and, like, lost their way, because that is so common, I just want something to impact them in a positive level where, like, they can start doing stuff to make them feel good again.
Yeah.
Like, I wish it was more aimed towards that than just the people who are like, go hard or go home, like, kind of mentality.
And so that was my big terror with that, was that I saw that the go hard or go home people were just peddling intensity and flash and, like, all sizzle, no steak.
Like, how can we actually help people instead of...
And so that drives me nuts, because whether it was the gym with Kurt or fourth shift or whatever, it's always been like, don't worry about that, just let's be smart here.
Yeah. Okay.
But that other stuff gets so much traction, so I was like, I just hated on it so much,
Yeah.
right? But, and I'm just gonna have to swallow that pill, because it's not gonna stop, like you said.
Yeah.
But that was that's one of the reasons that I was like, well, I just gotta be against this then. But I recognize that now it's a me problem. But what I hated was that, and I wrote this down, I even put an asterisk next to it. I hate the dummy mentality of like, you know what would be hard? Running up 10 flights of stairs. Like, yeah, it'd be pretty hard. You know what would be harder? If we put on all our gear and an air pack and run up 10 flights of stairs. Like,
50,000
that would be
times.
harder. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, you know what would be hard? 100 burpees. Like, true that. Like, you know what would be even harder? 100 burpees in gear. Like, the flights of stairs thing I could see, like, all right, I get it. We're going upstairs. But then you get in these other ones where it's like, let's just pile intensity and volume onto these movements and look cooler doing it, but they don't really...
Yeah. Can I challenge this a little bit?
Yeah.
Only because of a comment someone had made with that.
Yeah.
So their comment wasn't necessarily like because of the high intensity doing 100 burpees. It was the mental part of it. Having that mental, like, callousing your brain, mental strength of being able to get through something that is just hard.
Yeah.
And that you don't want to do. And kind of like tying that into a right? So, like, I get it on the mental aspect. I will say that like, it is a mental grind to get through something that's uncomfortable. That's we could be put in that spot anytime. And so that's my only, like, I kind of agree with him in that sense.
I agree with him. I agree with him in the effort that you put out has to match the effort that's expected in your hardest times. I'm down with that.
Yeah.
But there's also been plenty of write-ups and articles and I suppose research on it where, like, they're saying that rolling around in the mud, carrying logs, doing stuff that isn't your purposeful role, that you're trying to use that to prepare for your purposeful role, doesn't translate over.
Okay.
That your preparedness in your specific role gives you the most ability to persevere in the hard times. So in that case in specific, it was like up downs or burpees or something like that, there's absolutely several points in doing 100 burpees or up downs in gear where you're like, this would be way easier if I just quit. And, like, this is excruciating right now. My problem with that one is specifically exercise selection.
Got it.
Because at a certain point, that movement can absolutely be degrading on the future of your career.
Gotcha.
Because the way you're coming up by the up down with that wide split stance and, like, doing a good morning out of it.
Okay.
Or whatever exhaustion leads to in forms like
and repetitiveness. And I totally get that.
So in that one, and this comes to something we kind of talked about before, was you have to balance the movement and the objective. Is the movement very difficult and you're trying to do that, or is the objective very difficult and you're trying to do that, right? Just as difficult as doing 100 burpees off the top of my head would be doing an hour on the step mill with your gear on.
Right.
Where your range of motion is nowhere near the extreme end ranges. and you want to stop at 40 minutes, but you got to keep going, right?
Yeah.
So is the objective to get yourself to a point of exertion where you're doubting yourself? Then pick the correct exercise and movement to do that. Or is the movement so difficult that you're trying to conquer that movement? That's where you kind of get into injury territory, right?
Yep,
It can
that
be the
totally
same thing
makes
with,
sense.
it's really difficult climbing the rope to the ceiling. You're going to want to quit several times if you try to do that gear on, but is that risk and that movement worth what happens when you want to quit?
Right.
Right. So I agree, and I like the blood and guts, down and dirty punishment stuff sometimes, but it's got to be smart. But I get it. I like the intensity. I'll never stop doing intensity or promoting intensity, but I definitely will promote better selections and methods of getting that intensity.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah,
Is
that
too
totally makes
rambly?
sense.
Now the fourth one, dirty.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like smoke. I'm not thinking PFAS necessarily,
Yeah.
because we talked about in the first episode we recorded, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And we know that, they suck. You can decon them. You can do other things to try to eliminate them that you should probably be doing because of the rain jacket you're wearing also,
Yeah.
or the moisture wicking stuff
Yeah.
you're already riding a bike or whatever you're doing. I'm thinking more like you're wearing dirty gear from calls and the soot and the smoke and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But even that, I mean,
Not
gear
a lot
washers.
of departments have you don't there's, I don't know if you guys have 2 sets of gear, but not everybody has that. Not every
Right.
department's able to give you that. And so,
Yeah. So that would be my caveat to that is that it's dirty, and you know that dirty stuff causes bad stuff. So get a second set or wash your stuff and just be smart about it.
yeah.
I'd like to tout that one higher, but in reality,
Yeah,
if
and
you have
maybe if
clean
you're
gear-
not I don't know, maybe while I get the heat acclimation and being acclimated to your gear and stuff, I get that. But maybe if you don't have access to clean gear, that's just not feasible for you.
Yeah.
Maybe now it's time for you to just buy a weight vest until that becomes feasible to you, where you do have that second pair.
And here's what I think is a weight vest and a pair of sweatshirt and sweatpants and a stocking cap and winter gloves, right? That will get you hot, okay? And here's another side we didn't even talk about. If you put on your gear, all your gear, and you crawl around and you're just a sweaty mess, and you turn up the heat in the gear room and you're crawling around in circles for half an hour, and it's like a sauna, and you're like, I'm getting my heat acclimation that way, and you get hurt, your chief will be like, okay, I get it. You're doing search drills, you're in your gear, you're doing heat acclimation. I understand it's within your scope of your job. If you put on all your stuff and you do MRF and you get hurt, they'll be like, we did not give you exercise gear. We gave you firefighting gear.
Right.
What are you doing?
Right.
And so if your goal is to get heat acclimation and sweaty and hot and be uncomfortable, there's far easier and better ways to do that besides using your firefighter gear. Not to mention, if you're doing it on a shift and you don't have a second set of gear and you have a fire alarm an hour later, you got to put on your wet
gear.
gross stuff.
Yeah.
It's the grossest thing ever. So
Yeah.
I'm down. I get it. Like I said, I'm not poo-pooing it anymore.
No, we're not
trying to get better
poo-pooing
ways
it
to-
at all.
we're
No.
trying to give
Better
equal-
ways, smarter ways.
Yeah, and maybe they won't get as many sexy clicks on Instagram, but it's gonna
Yeah.
it's gonna do what you're accomplishing,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Now, came up with 5 foundational movement patterns for working out in gear.
Specific to our job.
Specific to the firefighting gear, yeah. So in the strength and conditioning world, there's 5 foundational movement patterns for exercise. There's push, pull, hinge, squat, and carry. Those are the big ones. And then within push and pull, you have horizontal and vertical pushes and pulls, and then hinge, squat, carry. You have all that stuff. And then there's the bonus section of sprinting, rotation, anti-rotation, all that, asymmetrical stuff, all that. Push, pull, hinge, squat, lunge, carry. I changed those for the firefighters.
Okay, let's hear
Mainly
it.
to avoid the squat. And I'll tell you
Okay.
why. So the 5 foundational patterns for firefighters are push, pull, crawl, carry, and lunge. Right?
Yeah.
Pretty well covers it.
Yeah.
Now missing is squat. And I took squat out because the squat is not that common of a movement on the fire ground. It's a very common movement in fitness. And so you assume we must do it all the time, but actually standing there with both of your feet even or wide in a CrossFit squat and flared out and doing that movement more than once is pretty uncommon. Mm-hmm. But a stagger stance, picking something up, or being in a long lunge position, or crawling and standing up, nobody does a burpee to stand up on the fire ground. Everybody goes to their knees and puts one foot up and
Yeah.
stands up from the bottom of a split squat basically. So the lunge is cool. It carries a higher risk of movement quality degradation because of your gear. If you're wearing the old gear like we talked about, but even over time, if you do enough squats, you're going to turn into a turtle, right?
Yep.
So I kind of got rid of that one. But push, pull, crawl, carry, lunge, and underneath one of those I have like 2 to 3 on each category of stuff we're going to list when this comes out, of like how to build a workout. If you take 2 or 3 of these things, 2 or 3 categories, and pick one thing from each category, and then put in like a half-hour circuit, plenty.
Yeah.
Plenty for a consistent routine to get you through. What do you think?
I like that idea. I think it's perfect.
I like it too. What would you add or take out besides the better burpee? I put that down here too. Better burpee.
Better burpee. I like that.
Yeah.
With all the stars around it. Better burpee.
What do you think
as far as what? Like as far as
when you're doing your drills or you're doing in-gear stuff, is there one movement that particularly you struggle with? Like I can think of one, like crawling and dragging something is the most difficult for me. I can crawl and push or drive, like that rip drill that we looked up. Like I've done that a number of times in that drive position, but grabbing a hold of something and crawling at the same time is just hard for me.
That's my weakest as well. 100%. That is my weakest as well.
Like crawling in itself is terrible.
Yeah.
We did the other day. I said we're just going to go over some crawling stuff, and we got in our gear and on air, and we had a length 1 bay long. So from like the door to the back of the engine, so 1 bay length, whatever that is. And I said we're going to do right hand post up and slide, just like the baseball slide thing.
Yeah.
Down, and then left hand back, and then baby crawl down, and then whatever you want back. And we did that twice, and we were all way too tired compared to what that was. We're like, holy crap, man. And then we put like, all right, now you carry the irons and you carry the can, and I'll pretend I'm scanning with a tick and also carry your spare tool. And we did that a couple times, and we were like, geez Louise, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely killer. So crawl is a skill and overall builder that I think we ignore too much.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would say like anything really that I can use like leg drive with, I have absolutely no issue.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that requires a lot of probably like arm strength for me that I end up having an issue, or if it's like higher.
Yeah.
So
everything.
Which is everything. But no, like for
like the tailboard.
Come on, man. Don't laugh.
I mean, you can't say anything higher.
It doesn't matter. I figure out how to do everything.
Like your hair.
So it doesn't even matter.
Higher.
I'm cutting it, by the way.
Okay.
I am cutting it.
I believe it. I believe you.
It is actually now becoming an issue. But no, I mean, like for just a plain example. And I'm not saying that things should be as hard as they should because I'm short. I will never use my height as an excuse, solely just because I'll tell you right now, I work with a lot of short guys.
Yeah.
Honestly. And to be honest, I think we have the best genetics. Truly, I really do. I feel
short people in general, is that what you're saying?
I feel like short people in general have like a good muscle build always.
Okay. I'm just thinking about it. I'm down with you. I'm giving me a new idea here to think about. So.
Well, I'm just saying. But
yeah.
So we have like our...
I mean, the fact that you're short alone proves that you have poor genetics, but go on. I mean, you definitely get hit by less birds.
This is true.
All right.
I give up.
Do you want to go over anything else? I know I kind of hogged this episode.
I enjoyed it. Right? You're someone who's extremely knowledgeable when it comes to this stuff, and I think that a lot of this stuff...
Say it confidently.
...needs to be out... What? Because...
I just say it confidently. I don't know anything.
Well... Yeah. You are, though. But you are. You have background knowledge, you have certifications, you have degree.
All that stuff.
All of it. So there's really nothing like I would add on to all the people who are continuously doing these things. I think that that's awesome. I think that it's great that you're doing that for your job. I hope that they take some of our movements and integrate them, or maybe flip them out with some of these movements that we come up with.
Or just get a different look. Like stick with the program you're doing. If it's not hurting you, and you don't feel like you're compromised when you wake up at midnight and go on the fire alarm. Like if you wake up and you're like, God, my back is killing me from that workout. Every time I do that one, my back wrecks me for the next day. If that's happening, we're going to give you some options.
Yeah. It's time to change it because we want to all do this job for a long time. No one wants to pension out over something stupid like that. So
and this sounds like a commercial. It's all going to be free.
Yeah.
So what we're going to put up is the 5 pillars, and underneath each pillar is going to have 2 to 3 options to do with all stuff that you have at the fire department, hose or sleds or whatever. We'll probably put them on the website, either on 4th Shift or like on some other website to have them be downloadable PDFs. And then we're going to release the Better Burpee. That'll be a video. Probably do some other stuff, like build some workouts out, like 3 or 4 set workouts that you can just step into and do, right?
So they don't even have to think.
And it's all there. So if you do those things, like when this comes out, it's weird talking about something in the future, like next week. These will be out when this is out, kind of thing. But if you do them, try them out and record them and tag us and send them over and all that stuff, because we want to see how they're working.
And we want to hear from you how you like it, but maybe something you didn't like, or if you would change it, maybe your idea too. We're very open-minded. But yeah, I can't wait for that to come out. And
well, good, because
I can't wait till you actually eat a donut, because
I was on my way to eat one and you just turned on your microphone and started recording. So I was like, I guess it's time to do stuff.
You could have
all right, well, sign us out
during.
and I'll work on the donuts.
Thanks for tuning in. I don't know how else to sign us out.
Did you think of a tagline yet?
This whole week sucked, okay?
That's not a good tagline.
I have not thought of a tagline. I will think of it.
That's a terrible tagline.
I will think of it.